young age of 18. And obviously I learned really hard that people do not take an 18-year-old serious when they're making the biggest investment of their whole life. So then I had to kind of take a roundabout approach. And what I did is I became a licensed assistant for a top producer locally here in Utah. And I then saw the value in the mentorship and the coaching and the training. And she's the one that actually introduced me to Women's Council, which was really awesome because obviously it's helped me grow into who I am today. And I'm very thankful for the platform that the Women's Council has obviously given me to become who I am today. And I'm obviously continually growing. As soon as I left being an assistant, I actually became a top producer right away, thankfully. Within that first year, I made over $250,000 out on my own from the get-go. And I'm an achiever, and I love just leveling up. I love success. I love helping other people. I'm a people person. So this quarantine's been really interesting for me. I was embracing it the first 2 weeks. And then last week I kind of had a little bit of a meltdown. And then this week I'm back to being positive. But what I learned from being a top producer for so many years, year after year, is this business is really hard. Especially to do it all on your own and have to do everything from start to finish as a solo agent. And so because of the Women's Council and because the mentorship that I've seen in my own success, I wanted to actually share all of the knowledge and all of the systems that I built out with other people. And so that's when I ended up deciding to grow a team, right? And so we're going to talk about the different types of teams, because when people say a team, to me, that can mean many different things. And so we're going to dive in first to the types of structures of team. So how I first started off was I was an agent, solo agent, all on my own, right? And then eventually I hired one of my clients that was a stay-at-home mom to be my part-time assistant. That was back when we still did flyer boxes out in front of the properties. And that took, every week you print off about, 20 to 30 papers per listing, and you have to run out all over the valley and go fill them up. Half the time they were sprayed with the sprinklers and all wrinkly and nasty, or, the neighbor kids would have them thrown out all over the yard. I'm so glad we don't have to do flyers anymore. And then she would do some online ads for me. So here in Utah, we have KSL, which is similar to a Craigslist. And that takes quite a bit of time. Their program really sucks. And so you have to upload each photo one at a time. And sometimes it'd kick you out and you'd have to restart. So anything like that, I definitely recommend. If you guys are a solo agent and you're getting to the level as far as doing probably 20 plus deals a year, I would at least consider starting to do a part-time assistant so they can do those busy tasks that really aren't super, critical to your business, and they're not really interactive with your clients. And so I say, even if they're working remote, which everybody is right now, kind of teach them these easy, simple things that they can take that stuff off your plate so you can focus on the real productive activities to move your business forward. And then you can work up to making them more full-time. An assistant, to me, should also act as a transaction coordinator, being a second set of eyes and ears on the under contract to close process. So I have our assistants schedule our showings, add them into the calendar, help us transaction coordinate. They're checking in with the lender, title, all of that at least once a week. And then we give an update to our client every Wednesday. We call it Where We At Wednesdays. So Touch Base Tuesday is them reaching out to everybody involved in the transaction. Wednesdays when we give an update to our client. And then I do a personal phone call Friday. So think about all the things that your assistant can do to help take, again, things off of your plate to leverage. So that could be your first team, right? Because it's you and one other person. And then from there, then I ended up getting a showing agent who actually ended up being my brother-in-law. So interestingly enough, I would recommend not to hire family members because it does not work out so well all the time. It does in a lot of ways, and in other ways it doesn't. So, but the thing with a showing agent is, right, you're leveraging the most time consuming task that it takes to work with buyers. However, sometimes your client's like, hey, I want Renee. Hey, Renee didn't show up to show me this house. They start questioning whether or not they want to use you as an agent because they're like, well, they're kind of passing me off. So make sure anytime you leverage these type of tasks to somebody else that you're setting the right expectations for your clients. Let them know, hey, I actually work with a lot of buyers at any given time. So if I'm ever unavailable, so-and-so is going to show you homes. And they're just as good as me, and they're gonna, this is what they do all day, every day. They are actually almost probably even better at showing homes than I am, and they're almost always available. So you really just need to set the right expectations and have that conversation right up front. And again,
That's why I skipped showing agent and went straight to buyer's agent, because I'm way too type A to have just somebody who randomly shows.
Yep. So, and with that though, I'll go over the pros and cons next, but the next would be a buyer's agent, that they're actually doing the contracts, they're filling out the forms, they're negotiating, they're handling that buyer. Because as you guys know, buyers are very emotional in this transaction. So they're going to have lots of questions and they're going to be very needy. Sellers on the other hand, they just want to know, what are you doing to get my home sold? And they just want to make sure marketing's done right. The listing looks great. You're, maximizing their exposure. They're a little bit more of like an even kiln buyer client, where buyers are very like up and down, up and down, up and down. So to me, the first thing you would want to leverage is your buyers. And then agent plus assistant plus a buyer and seller specialist. To me, it takes different personalities to work with a buyer. A buyer obviously is more emotional, so you need somebody that is willing to kind of get in that field with them and help guide them through the process, whereas seller specialist is probably somebody that's going to be more analytical. Sellers are more critical of who they work with, where buyers are like, as long as you can show me a home and get me, a purchase contract and get me under contract, I'm happy. Whereas sellers like, I want you to maximize my dollar. I want to know exactly where the market trends are at, what the market's doing as far as, days on market and those type of things. So that takes a little bit more of an analytical mindset. So just think about, who would work best in either one of those. And then you have an agent with an assistant. Then you can add on a marketer. So that is what we have. We have somebody that does all of our social media. They actually handle all of our listing marketing. So literally, we just give them the listing packet. They process it. They put it everywhere it needs to be. They're making sure it's getting out there. And it is so easy. Like, I absolutely love having a marketer. And so she not only does like call to actions and just simple fun stuff. So make sure your marketer has an eye for that and understands hashtags and the different platforms and how the algorithms work. But normally those people are going to be more of the creative type. And so you may have to give them a little bit more guidance as far as to be more strategic to make it work for real estate. But I mean, marketing is huge right now. So definitely make sure you get one. And then local agents, right? So your buyer's agent, your seller's agents, and then you may even start expanding into other markets, which we've already done. And that looks way different. And then obviously once you get to a really high level, you're going to end up hiring a sales manager, because you can't do it all by yourself. Managing a lot of people underneath your umbrella, just even the back end is still a full-time job. And at that, I'm still producing at a high level. So here I am running a business, helping other people, doing all the operations, yet I'm still out there producing myself. And so, so you'll have a sales manager, a full admin staff, and then agents all over, whether it's local as far as in-state goes, or if you start expanding into other states. So let's go over the pros and cons. And I'm going to be like honest, Abe, with you guys about this, because people glamorize teams like it is going to be so fun and you have all these people that like, you know, you're doing this together, but there's pros and cons to it too. So assistants, so obviously they should take over any of the busy miscellaneous work. That's the pro. The con is obviously you need to train them, and it does take a fair amount of time to train them, and know that they will make mistakes. The hardest thing, so Renee, you talked about how you're, you know, very analytical and controlling. So am I. And so anytime my assistants make a mistake and and the client can see it, it makes me cringe because I'm like, oh, just slow down. Even if it's like a typo or a misspelled word, or, you know, say they're using a template and on the template it has in parentheses address and they forgot to actually put the address in and yet they send it. I'm like, I don't want the client to know this is a template that you're filling out. So just so you know, they are going to make mistakes and it's going to look on, you know, poorly on your part as a leader. So make sure that you do take the time to train them.
Or when your buyer's agent was brand new and sent a contract to a broker that had a ton of errors on it.
Yes.
And you had to handle that phone call and it was ugly.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. Okay. And we'll go over training agents as well. So then showing agents, right? It's great to be able to leverage the busiest part of working with buyers. I mean, here in Utah, it takes about 30 minutes a home. So if somebody wants to go out and see 5 homes, that's 2.5 hours of your day just to show 5 homes, and they may not even like any of them. And so here you're able to leverage that 2.5 hours to somebody else while you're working on different things in your business for those 2.5 hours instead. So I highly recommend getting a showing agent if you don't have one already. The thing about having a showing agent that's more beneficial than having just a buyer's agent is you're able to retain more of your profit by just having a showing agent, where a buyer's agent is going to want a bigger cut of the deal. Okay. So think about the two, you know, weigh them out. However, if you only have one showing agent, they're only one person. So say if you're working with 3, 4, 5 buyers during the springtime when it's, you know, hot with buyers out looking at homes, you may be paying them a salary plus a per bonus file to show homes. Yet here they are, part of their workload's falling back on your plate because they're out showing homes to another client, yet now this client wants to go out. So now you're doing that. So you're paying them to do it. Now you're going out and still doing it yourself. And so also during the seasonality, I mean, they're working their butt off for you. Here in Utah, it stays light till about 9:30 at night. So there may be days that they're working, you know, 10-hour days showing homes, which they're going to be exhausted, but then they're making a lot more money. Where then in the winter time, right, during the holidays, you still have that salary to pay for, yet they're not making as much bonus. So you're kind of feeling the tension, they're kind of feeling the tension. So it's, you know, it's kind of up and down as far as their interaction and their engagement. As far as a buyer's agent goes, it's been forever since I ever took a sign call off one of my own. That was one of the first things that I did. Is I'm like, do you know what? Harvard did a business study that if you don't return a lead call within 5 minutes, so if you don't answer it and you don't return it in 5 minutes, it drops down to less than 10% for you to be able to capture that lead. So I knew it was in my best interest to not have to be on call. Say I'm in the middle of meeting with a client or a listing presentation and my phone's ringing and it takes me an hour or so to get back to them. I'd rather somebody else take it. So we have what's called CallRail. So as soon as you have a team, you can have CallRail. And what it does is it rings everybody's phone all at one time. And so whoever's available picks it up. And it does have a voicemail on there and it's cheap. It's like $30 a month. And so you guys can definitely look into that, but that's what works well. And then what we do is anybody that converts off somebody else's sign call, that listing agent gets 10% from that lead when they close. So they still get money, but they're also not the ones on the call. Okay. Any colds or soft handoffs to a buyer's agent. And again, they're going to feel the seasonality, but at that, it takes time to train them the right way. They're going to ask a lot of questions day and night. Like the other night, I had an agent on our team that's gone through all the training, and you'll see how extensive our training is. Yet no matter how proactive they are, every situation's different. So they're always going to ask questions, and they're going to be like on your butt to answer it. So it was 9:30 at night. I literally had my phone on the charger because it died. And by the time I went back into my room, I had 3 missed calls and text messages saying, hey, were you able to look at that offer? Hey, and it's 9:30 at night, right? But his client's on him, so he's on me. He wants to make sure that he's crossed his T's and dotted his I's before sending it off. And I'm like thinking, wow, even though I might not be on call with sign calls, I'm on call with my agents all the time. And so also once they get more established and they get a little bit of wind underneath their wings and they start feeling like they're rock stars, they're going to get an ego. And so with that ego, you have to manage it. And I'm not the type of person to say, look what I've done for you. Look at everything I've done to help you get here, all of that. But as soon as they start getting ego, they start feeling like they can leave you in a heartbeat and that they're doing you a favor instead of recognizing everything that you've done to help get to where they're at. Additionally, if you have multiple agents, it's great because you have more ability to leverage and level up. However, you need to set the right expectations for the clients because, again, think about just handing off a client as far as a showing agent. Now they may be seeing lots of different faces. So they're like, who's my agent? I feel like there's a lot of hands in the pot. So again, you want to make this process as simplified as possible to where what you're doing is you're just setting the right expectations. So you're communicating right up front. Hey, I'm not alone. It's great because you actually have a whole team behind you. So what you're doing is you're really selling the value and expectations of why it's good for them to work with a team versus just you alone. And what I always say is, I'm always still here to help. I'm always still here if you have any questions or they're not able to answer them, still know that I am here and I'm always going to check in. So you almost just have to over communicate. So it's great because you're not doing like the work and the busy stuff, but now you're communicating even more because you're not having that face-to-face time. Also with multiple agents, they're going to have different personalities. And so with that, there may be some that clash together, and now you're mediating agents on your team, and they're going to have different strengths, which is great because you can, if I have a client that I'm like, hey, Jurgen, would be great for this, or Jason would be great, or Kelsey would really work well. So it's great because now you have different people that you can match them up with your different clients on who you feel like could work well together. But with Clash of the Titans, right, they're going to feel competitive. And they're going to question fairness all the time. I had an agent who just barely said, I feel like we actually ended up moving brokerages and started our own just recently in the past month. And there was one person on our team that it wasn't clicking, which is super unique for us. But we gave him so many chances and worked with him so much. And when I said, hey, we're moving, but I honestly feel like you need to stay here. I don't feel like we're the right leaders for you. You've been underneath our umbrella for 6 months and you haven't put not one under contract, which normally within their first 90 days on our team, they have at least one deal under contract or closed. And then within the next 90 days, they're doing at least 2 to 3 deals a month underneath us. So for him to have 0 even under contract, we just knew we weren't the right leaders for him. And he questioned the fairness and he said, well, you gave this to them and you gave this to them. And I said, yeah, but do you not remember that, I gave you a cash buyer lead and I did the soft handoff, which means I vetted them, I qualified them. And then I just said, hey, here you go. Can you go show them the house? And from there you can do the follow-up process and convert them. Well, what he did is he forgot to set the appointment to show it. So then he calls 15 minutes before the showing because he realized on the way there that he forgot to set the appointment. So then the house wasn't cleaned up. The sellers were upset, right? Bad first impression of him dropping the ball with a cash buyer. And I said, do you not remember all these different things? I said, if I would have handed that off to somebody else, they probably would have been able to convert it. So I'm sorry, but I've given you a lot of opportunities. And I feel like I've done my best with you. So just know you as a leader will be questioned at times whether or not you went above and beyond for them. Some people are very victim mentality and victim based. And at the end of the day, it's good. You know, him and I had a great conversation. Also, more agents means more time to train, more questions to answer. And once again, more egos to handle. And then if you have expansion agents, that's great because you're able to serve a greater territory. But also if you just have one agent, say for example, where I'm at, Logan is about 45 minutes north of where we're at, and there's a canyon to go through. And in the winter time, like nobody wants to drive that canyon. So we had an expansion agent up there. She felt lonely. She didn't feel a part of the team, although she was. And so I would recommend if you do have expansion agents, you need to be even more so trying to make them feel a part of the bigger picture, because they may feel like they're kind of lone ducks sitting out there, yet you have all the same expectations for them. And in new areas, you may have new methods. So you may be having to switch up your approach depending on those different locations. Like Logan is much more conservative. They're really like old school, the good old boy group type mentality, where here where I'm at, it's very forward thinking, very innovative. And so we learned that the hard way up there. Okay, now we're gonna go over vetting. So vetting 101, the first thing that you guys should do is think about all the things not to do. So this is all of my learning lessons for you guys. Don't hire somebody just because you like them as a person. People have come in and they've wowed me and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see us being best friends. That would be so fun to work with them. And then you realize at the end of the day, they don't have the talent that it takes for that job position. So do hire them because they are actually qualified for the job. I would even recommend, even if you don't like them as far as, not to say as a person, but maybe they're not really your type to be your best friend, if they have the strengths and they're still going to be a good culture fit otherwise, I would consider hiring them. Don't make a job to match the person. Say if you're like, you can see all this talent and all these strengths, yet it's not in the position that you're hiring for, don't hire them just because of that. So you do need to find the right person that has the strengths and also has a previous history of winning. Because if they're not used to winning and they're not used to striving for greatness, they're going to just kind of fill holes, is what I call it, rather than help you level up. So if there's somebody that's like just, they want consistency, they never want to help push and grow and improve, and they're just, you know, kind of mediocre, all you're going to get is mediocre results. And then don't overpromise and underdeliver with any of your admin, any of your agents. Start small and work your way up, and remember your long-term goal. So I say that because I hired an assistant 2 years ago, and I said, hey, as soon as you're hired or as soon as you get licensed, you know, what I'll do is I'll pay you 5% of all of my deals, because she was going to help with TC. She was going to help set up showing. She was going to be like an all-in-one assistant. And so I was like, you know, 5%, that's pretty motivating in addition to her salary, which her salary was $1,500 a month. So not super big, yet she would add a lot of value. Well, what we did in the meantime is we grew. And so then I had to hire a marketer. I had to hire a transaction coordinator. She finally got licensed. And what does she still expect? 5%. Although now part of those tasks and duties that I would have paid her for, that would have made that 5% worth it. Now I'm paying other people to do, because we grew so fast before she ever got licensed. It was about a year after. So what I'd say too is also, if you're doing a bonus structure, per file is great, because you're like, hey, if a deal doesn't close, I don't have to pay them that per file. However, if you do grow and you grow substantially, those per file fees will add up. So I would think about doing caps or restructuring it in a different way. Because say, for example, if you've committed to $50 a file or $100 a file, and now you're growing and you're doing so much business, I mean, those bonuses can add up real quick to be, you know, extravagant amounts of money. Vetting is super essential. So treat it like you're a real business, because at the end of the day, we all should be thinking of ourselves as business owners. And so I do require them to submit a resume, and I review their job history. I look at what strengths are they using, what skill sets are they using, and how long have they been at a job. If I see that they're flip-floppers, where that they're just like bouncing around and all that, I know people are creatures of habit. So I will tend to not even interview people that have had a lot of jobs in the past couple of years. I want to see loyalty, because I know how long it's going to take me to train them, that I feel like the first year is a lot of training and a lot of time that you're investing in them, to where after a year, that's where you start to see that investment come back. And then I also look for typos. I just barely hired 2 brand new admins, and we got 159 applications that we had to go through. It was overwhelming. And so I had to just be picky as far as going through those resumes. And if somebody had typos, I'm like, do you know what? If you're giving this out to your potential employers, and you got to think too, if they're agents, if they're allowing typos, what do you think they're going to do on a legal and binding contract, right? And so I want people that are very analytical and putting their best foot forward when it comes to their resume. I had ones that didn't even capitalize I, and they just spelled, easy words wrong. And I'm just like, nope, I don't want anything to do with that. This is a professional business. We want to be on our A game. Personality tests, I highly recommend. So there's a free DISC test. If you guys have never heard of DISC, D stands for like driver, demanding, I is interactive. They're like your people person. S is systems, and C is cautious. And so it works really well for agents that have higher I and S, because if you have an agent that has a low I, that means they're not really going to be putting themselves out there to build relationships and rapport with other people. So look for agents that have high I and high S. And then for admin, you want more S and C. You want them to be more systems oriented, more cautious, because they're making sure all the moving pieces, they're not just taking quick reactions and just spurting off things. And then I highly recommend medium Ds. If you're a team and you have somebody with too high of a D, they are going to literally bombard over everybody. I've had it before, and I've learned the hard way. They are great producers, but they are bad for your culture. So they're going to push people out. And then even for admins, if they don't have a medium D, they are going to, again, be very just this, which maybe some roles are good for that. But think about the type of admin that you want. We put a ton on our admins' plates. And so we want people that can handle a high workload and get it done with efficiency. And then words per minute test. This may sound silly, especially when you're interviewing for agents on your team, but I literally had an agent that came over, and I was trying to teach her the systems, and she had her keyboard like this, and she was literally, and she was probably like 5 years older than me. She was literally typing things like this. And then I was like, okay, now hit tab. And she's like, where is that button? And I'm just thinking, really, at the end of the day, you can't start from literally square zero as far as technology and systems. Like, how am I supposed to get them to this high level when they can barely even type to begin with? So to me, I want to ensure that they have basic computer skills, that they know how to use. We use technology at a high level in our company. We have tons of systems. If you don't know how to work a computer just normally, that's going to be really hard for me. And I just don't have the patience for it. So it's up to you. From there, if they pass the resume, they pass the personality test, they pass words per minute, we're going to set up an initial interview. I recommend you do not do these in person. An initial interview is going to be on Zoom. And then that way you time block it for 30 minutes. You can keep it short and sweet, and you can wrap it up as quickly as you want. Okay. So I would recommend doing your initial interview by Zoom, and you are not talking anything about yourself. You are not selling them on your job or on the job position or on your company. You want to know what's about them. So what I'll say is, hey, so let's see who's on here. Hey, Renee, just because I can see your name. Hey, Renee, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, who are you? Where did you grow up? What kind of job have you had in the past? I like to know what other jobs they've had in the past, even if they're an agent. And then I'll just ask them different things, and I'm just getting to know them. I'm asking lots and lots of questions about them, hardly ever even talking about myself or the business or the company. If they pass that initial interview, then I want to do an in-person interview. So I'll say, do you know what? We'll go ahead and get back to you. And or if we like them, then we'll say, hey, you know, are you available to come in for an in-person interview? Sometimes I'll actually invite them just to team meeting on Thursdays, where I want them to meet the team. I want the team to get to know them. I want to see how they kind of interact with the team players. And then if I like how I see how they interact at team meeting, then we'll do a follow-up actual interview where then I start asking them even more deeper questions about who they are. And then I'll give them more about the job position and the opportunities and all of that. Make sure you guys call references. So a lot of people skip that step. I would like star that if you guys are taking notes. Obviously the references are people that are going to rave about them, right? They are giving you those names. However, I ask those references tough questions. I'll say, you know, is there anything at all that I should be aware of? And I'll get people that say, oh, well, they're kind of like really chatty Cathy. You know, they talk a lot to a lot of their colleagues here at the office, or, you know, you'll get different things. So then the next reference you're asking, you can bring that up and just say, hey, I heard that they got a little bit of a chatty Cathy syndrome. So can you tell me, you know, have you seen that? Is there any other areas of concern? You know, nobody's perfect. We all have areas of improvement. I just want to know what I can anticipate as soon as they come on. And so you put it in a positive light to say, hey, I want to help this person grow and I want to anticipate it. I don't want to shame them for this, but I just want to know what am I getting in for? And then final interview, that's when you tell them the long-term vision, the growth of the company, and how they can be a part of it and really make a difference. And then if it's an employee, as soon as we feel like it's a good fit, we'll give them an offer letter. Expect a counter though, typically. So just know that they're more than likely going to counter you. And then make sure that you sign the contract with the team expectations. And we restrict our admins, their license, but we do not let them do real estate deals. And I'll tell you why. As soon as an admin gets one deal under contract, all of a sudden they want to take time off during the day to do a walkthrough or set up showings or attend the home inspection or go. All of a sudden that deal is all they think about. And even while they're working, literally you will see a drop in their performance because they feel so overwhelmed with the amount of pressure of just this one deal. And so we restrict our admins from producing. And we make them sign a contract stating that if they have any leads, that they can actually refer that into the team for 25%. So they can still make great amount of money by letting the team handle it. And they'll obviously make sure that it's transaction coordinated correctly, that they're still going to have that interaction and face-to-face, but I highly recommend you guys do not let your admins produce. And at that too, right, they're going to make an agent income, which then might make them not really want to do admin stuff anymore. And then if we have admins though that they come on and we train them and then their year is in 2 years that they want to become an agent, I'm totally fine with that. But you need to have a clear black and white barrier between the two of obviously while you're an admin, you're an admin, and when you're an agent, you're an agent. So as soon as we get you to the point that you want to make the leap, we're here to support you, and you're already going to know the systems and the back end and all of that. And then with agent contracts, I recommend you go through those together. Ours is 7 pages. I'm happy to give you guys a copy of my agent contract. I've had my attorney review it and update all the learning lessons that I've had as far as people trying to get out of these contracts. We do require agents on our team to commit to 2 years before they are able to go out and be an independent agent, or they can stay on the team. And what we've done now is we're able to scale it that as they become more and more producing, that we're able to get more flexible with their split. So that way it's still a win-win long-term. Step 3, as far as vetting, as soon as you bring them under your umbrella, I would pre-schedule reviews at each 30, 60, and 90-day interval. You think you know these people until all of a sudden they come into your world and you start seeing them perform. And you start seeing whether or not they live up to their promises and the expectations that you set for them. So I would do a scorecard, like kind of like a report card, that you can rate them from 1 to 10 on different things. And so people are just used to scorecards anyways, because obviously we all went to school and we all had report cards. So I think it's really easy for people to be able to see that. And I would do that obviously before they get there, because if they're in person, you almost feel like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Be very honest with people. I always say spin it in a positive way and just say, hey, obviously this is an area of opportunity that we just need to train for. So we go over what worked well in the previous 30 days and we praise for positivity. Like, hey, you did so great on that. That is so, you know, that's something that really came easy to you. Or, hey, I know you worked really hard to figure out that system and you got it down. Like, I just want to tell you, thank you. So really coming from that place of gratitude, and then you can say, hey, and here's some areas that we need to focus on that needs improvement. And let's game plan together. And I feel like if you game plan together, they're more bought in to that game plan. Because if you're like, oh, and here's what you need to do to fix it, they're not going to have as positive a perception about that area than if you do it together. And you actually may come up with a better game plan because you're collaborating. And then what to expect going forward, and be realistic. So literally 30 days will fly by. So just make sure that you're not setting them up to fail. You want people to have that cadence of winning and making them feel better. If you praise and you're constantly helping them get better and you're letting them know where they're improving, because we're all of us already are our own worst critics. And so if you make them focus on the good and where they are improving, they're just probably going to get better and better. And then you can layer onto that. And then redlining. So this is a unique term that you can see what their limit is. What you're doing is you're pushing them for more and more. People will automatically kind of resist if it feels uncomfortable. Push them through that and see what they're made of. And so I will redline people early on because I want to see what they're capable of and how far they're willing to push it, especially in the beginning. So next, we're going to go over to our onboarding. So the nuts and bolts, I have created a 12-week course called My Utah Agents University. Essentially what it is, it's post real estate school 101. How do you actually do real estate? When people go to real estate school, they're just learning how to pass the test. They have no idea really what it takes behind the scenes. And so what I ended up figuring out is people really need a step-by-step, that what they're doing is they're learning it, they're implementing it, and then they're learning something new. And so what we did is you earn it. So when you do this, then you get this. And so before I used to give everybody everything from the get-go, and I realized it's overwhelming, nor did they appreciate it. If they had to earn it, they appreciate it. So here is a little bit overview. So obviously initially we give them access to our CRM, which we use FirePoint. If you guys are not familiar with that system, it's amazing. It records your phone calls so you can give feedback for coaching. If you're driving in your car and you're taking a call and you need to take notes, you don't have to pull over, the call's recorded. Everybody can see it as far as the team goes. You can give access to different contacts for different players. You can tag them like at somebody on the team. Hey, can you look into doing this? I can set tasks for myself or my team, and all I have to do is look at my dashboard. I have surrendered to the CRM to the point that I literally have you and my grandma and grandpa in there, and I've set reminders to call them. So literally if it's not in my CRM or it's not in my calendar, it almost does not exist. Because I used to go to bed and have really bad insomnia of everything playing out in my head of what I need to do, that now I just use this fully. And now as soon as I'm done, I know I'm not forgetting anything. We use Slack. So Slack is free. You can pay to upgrade it, but it's our in-house communication log. And so it's kind of like instant messenger. However, you can set different channels with different topics. And what we do is anytime somebody has a question, we ask them to actually Slack it. And then that way, if somebody else in the future ever has that same question, you can actually search keywords and find previous topics or questions that were asked. So then that way we're trying not to answer the same question over and over and over, and people can reference that. So it's almost like a training log as well. And then Sisu is our online scoreboard. It tracks people's pipeline, their conversion rates, and I'll actually show you a snapshot of that later. And then Gmail, we do use G Suite. We use a training calendar. We have a vacation calendar. We can see each other's calendars to know when people are available or not. We have a drive with all of our training documents. We use docs and sheets and all sorts of stuff to give them access to net sheets and scripts and training manuals. And I actually have a 60-page feature sheet of anything and everything inside a home. So if you don't know the name to something and you're showing a house, all you have to go is to countertops and you're like, oh yeah, that's actually this. And here's the information on how to upkeep it, where, you know, granite, you have to seal it every few months to a year, where quartz, you actually don't need to do that. And so you can actually give more specifics about these different features in a home. We do tell them voicemail setup. So be professional. We tell them exactly what they need to say. Hi, this is Shannon with my Utah agents. I'm so sorry I missed your phone call. You know, please leave me a detailed message, or you can send me a text and I'll get back to you at my earliest convenience, right? Some people do not know. I hate it when I call a phone number and all it does is repeat the phone number, right? Or it's like, hey, this is Shannon. And that's it. It's like, let's be professional. Let's level up. And that perception even on your voicemail is big. We'll schedule headshots and videos. We're very particular as far as everybody looking the part as far as the branding goes. And we do videos because I feel like video shows your personality more. So if you guys want to check out our videos, we do Sunday spotlights as far as our team goes, and they just say why they got into real estate and who they are. And it's kind of like a little call to action, but it's fun because we get them laughing. They're walking up to the camera. It's really, I mean, I like it, obviously. And then we do weekly team training and schedule. We tell them what to expect every week and role play information and schedule. So we use the role play conference line that you can get for free. It's free conference call. And you can set up your own conference call line. And what we do is we call that number through the FirePoint, whoever's hosting role play for that day. So now we have a full library list of all the role plays we've done every morning as a team. And then as far as our week to week, so focus number one is they job shadow the team for 20 hours the very first day. And really what we want to show them is how they can build their business and how other people are building their business. We do give them homework. So just so you know, the 12 weeks you will see is very intense. So we tell them, hey, we need your SOI list. If you guys are not familiar with that term, it's your sphere of influence. We want all your family, friends, people you went to school with, past colleagues, your cousin's friends, people you met at bunco or baby showers. If somebody's like, oh, I don't really have a SOI list, I don't have that many people I know, I tell them, go to your phone, scroll all the way to the bottom. That's how many people are in your SOI. Go on Facebook, go on Instagram. And what you're going to do is we have a template that they can send saying, hey, I'm just putting my list together of everybody that I know. And I actually realized I don't have your address. Can I get that? I always say it's good too if you have something coming up, like you're having your own baby, or you're about to get married, or somebody in your family, like when your kids are doing that. It's a great time to reach out and update contact information, because you can use that as your reason and your excuse. Yet really what you're doing is you're adding it into your SOI list too, for both personal and business. We have them read books too. To me, your mindset is huge, whether or not you're going to succeed. So I love the book Should to Must. They do not have it on Audible. To me, it's like an adult color book because they try to make it look big and hefty. However, you can read it in one day and it's amazing. It's got great takeaways. We also have Darren Hardy Insane Productivity that they have to watch on how to not get distracted, how to set different notifications on your phone off. So because that way, if you constantly are being bugged and your phone's vibrating and it's ding, somebody messaged you on Facebook, or ding, whatever, you are going to constantly be distracted rather than focused. And so we have different things, and we tell them, of course, invite your friends and family to like my Utah agents on Facebook and Instagram. The second week, we're going into more MLS navigation. So, and even if they're experienced agents or they've done a few deals, people don't know these systems unless they've done it at a really high level. So we teach them how to use it at a high level. And then we also start teaching them how to work with buyers. Buyers are typically the first clients that you tend to work with, especially as a new agent. And so we use the script LP Mama. If you guys are not familiar with that, what it is you go over location. So say, for example, I get a sign call and it's off a home here in North Ogden where I live. I'm just going to say, oh, hey, let me ask you. So what's bringing you to North Ogden? Do you live there, or were you just driving the neighborhood? Okay, well, this house is listed at $350,000. So is that a pricing point you're comfortable with every month? Right? And so P is price. So, and by adding in every month, that's instilling doubt, because most people are like, oh, 350,000. Yeah, I think I could afford that. But yet they're like, but I have no idea what the monthly payment is. Most people shop based on what their budget and their monthly payment is. So P is price. So if they're like, oh, well, I actually don't know what that payment is, can you tell me? Oh, well, that's a perfect question for a lender. Do you have one in mind? Have you talked to one already and gotten pre-qualified? So M, the first M, is mortgage. So you're asking them, so what you're doing is you're having a natural flowing conversation, yet you're vetting them on the phone. The next A is agent. So how we ask if they're currently working with an agent already is, hey, so have you seen any homes in person, or would this be your first one? Or how are you finding these homes? Are you looking online yourself, or do you have somebody sending you something, right? Because you don't want to go out and show a house to somebody that already has an agent. But sometimes people are nervous to ask that direct question, hey, do you have an agent? So this is a roundabout kind of way to find out if they have one. And if they do say they have seen ones, or somebody sending them searches, oh, great. So who is it that you're working with, and have you signed a contract with them yet? You know, because if you have, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, right? So you're showing the courtesy for another professional. If they haven't signed anything, then what we say is, you know, I'd love to show you what I do different, and I would love to earn your business. So, you know, so then you can go into M, which is motivation. Well, let me ask you in the first place, what's even making you want to look at making a move? So the next M is motivation, and then A at the very end is appointment. So if they passed all of those things, then you set the appointment. And I recommend, even if they maybe haven't talked to a lender yet, but you have a good feeling that they probably are good, I would at least set the appointment to have that face-to-face on the very first time. Even you're kind of taking the risk as far as meeting them, and maybe that home's not the right one, or maybe they're not really qualified, but that way you have the face-to-face to build rapport and build that connection. And then home buyer consultation. So we do a 20-minute home buyer consultation that we teach them. We have a video. Anything that can be done as far as training goes by video, and they watch it, and then you can help them in person with follow-up questions. I have a library list of videos for training. So we have them watch the home buyer consultation. That way they can watch it over and over and over and over. And then what we have them do is they have to actually come into my office. I pretend like I'm the client. We role play LP Mama as if I'm a client that's calling an off a sign. I give them feedback. I tell them whether or not they passed or not. And then they also will do a home buyer consultation. And at the end of the home buyer consultation, what they're doing through that consultation is they're setting up the right expectations and going through the process. And then at the end, they're going to ask for agency to be signed. And so typically, by the time all of our clients, and by the way, oh, I don't have the binder with me. We have a binder with a home buyer consultation with slides. And so what we do is, if somebody goes to a showing, we say, hey, you know, if you're a first time home buyer, I would love to educate you on the process. Do you have about 15 extra minutes, and I'll help you walk through that process? And so what we do is we go through that, and then at the end they ask for agency. So I feel comfortable I can help you. Do you? perfect. So what we try to do is get that agency signed. So then those people feel committed to us, but they've also seen the value that we add. And so they pass off the MLS search, they pass off LP Mama, the homebuyer consultation, and then they're also going to read the book, The One Thing. And we have a Google form that they actually have to fill out that we ask them questions about the book. And then it gets sent over to us and we just make sure, yep, they filled all those out correctly. That means they really did read the book. And then more Darren Hardy productivity coaching. Focus number 3 is showing agent training videos, Oakwood Homes video, and open house video. So I'm not going to go through this week by week, but I'm just going to show you, and I'm happy to give slides to Cindy who can email these out. And so what we do is at that 30-day, we're reviewing how did they do for the first 30 days. Are they showing engagement? Are they giving us all that they can? And we're going through all of that. And then focus 5 is obviously now we're getting in the nitty-gritty, the contracts. How to present offers to your buyers so they actually know what they're signing and obligating themselves to. I feel like a lot of people just send contracts digitally for their clients to sign, and their clients have no idea really all of the things that can happen. And you can see every week they have homework. And so once they go through the contract and how to present it, then we go through what does the under contract process look like for you? What is the final walkthrough? How do you go ahead and add value even during the final walkthrough? Sometimes people think of final walkthrough is just simply going through the home and that they're happy to see it right before they close. But you want to make sure, obviously, at a final walkthrough, all the repairs were done that were supposed to be done. All of the items that were supposed to be included are still there and they haven't switched them out. That no new damages has occurred since you went under contract. So there's a lot more to a final walkthrough than just simply letting be still excited to see it again one last time before they call it theirs. Obviously 60-day review, and then we're making sure, hey, are they a good culture fit? How's the team working out? How are they, interacting with the team? Are they showing up at a high level as far as their attendance and their engagement, all sorts of stuff like that. And then we start focusing on the back half as far as sellers go. So we do let all of our team members work with sellers. We do not restrict them to only buyers. We just start with buyers and then we work our way into sellers. I feel like it's really good for a buyer to know how a seller is going to perceive it and vice versa. I feel like that makes you a more well-rounded agent altogether. And then we go over the listing consultation, listing documents, how to present offers to your clients, listing, contract to close, so C2C, and how to under contract transaction coordinate a seller side. And then at the very end, we're going over settlement statements, how the closing process works, closing gifts, commission request form, all of that sort of stuff. And then you can see we celebrate them graduating. So, right, they went to My Utah Agents University. So at the end of their 90 days, that's when we become, we solidify that relationship and we do a big announcement. We invite all their family and friends out to their graduation. We just throw a little graduation party for them. So value adds and expectations. How do you create a win-win, right? So together we can do so much more. So what's our value adds and what's our expectations? So value adds as far as being on a team is leads. Obviously, that's how a lot of people think about the value. But we focus more on how do we build and help them build a repeat and referral-based business. Liz and I, my partner that I just joined forces with in July, she was a top producer. I was a top producer. We never once had to buy leads to become that. So we give leads to help supplement until they get it going. But what we're trying to do is help them solidify themselves with their own SOI, because those are the people that know, like, and trust them already. So it's hard to kind of get going, and there's a lag time between really ramping up with your own SOI. And so that's where it's great with online leads. However, if somebody's like, oh yeah, I can give you 100 leads a month. Number one, anybody can buy cheap leads online, and 100 leads a month is way too overwhelming. So we really focus on what type of leads are quality leads that they actually have good success at converting. We do buy Zillow leads. I know everybody's like, oh, Zillow. But what we figured out is we're very purposeful on which zip codes we buy with Zillow. And so we're always constantly keeping an eye on our ROI. And so we try to focus on areas that have a higher pricing point, have more quality buyers that typically end up being sellers as well. So we really focus on where our leads come from. And they say really, you should only give team members about 30 leads total a month. And they should only be working about 100 clients, whether it's hot, nurture, or cold at any given time. That doesn't mean 100 SOI. That means people that are talked about buying or selling in the near future, about 100 total between all those different categories. And then systems, right? They can just plug and play. They just tap into our systems. They don't have to create them. We already have efficient and effective tools and templates for them to use. And then obviously the camaraderie. So collaborate with the colleagues, be a part of something bigger than themselves. We have top producing agents that have wanted to join our team. And we always ask them, well, let me ask you, you don't need the leads. You've already proven to be successful. Let me ask you what it is. And they said that they're lonely and that they would love to leverage, and they're winging it still, that, you know, they've been lucky to be as successful as they are, but they don't have the systems. And so they would love the training and the mentorship. So obviously with our training, we make sure that they try to stay up to date on the market trends, because our market's constantly changing. And then we make sure that they are up to date on their skill set. And then obviously the mentorship and coaching, having them have somebody that helps guide their ship to the right destination. They don't know what they don't know. So we try to, in fact, in team meeting, we will share hardships. We will say, hey, here's how we felt, you know. So we actually have a segment that's called, you know, hard knocks, school hard knocks. Okay, who failed forward this week? What did you learn? Accountability. So if you guys can see over here, and I'll zoom into it closer, we use Sisu, and that's great because we say where your focus goes, your energy flows. So we don't say accountability like we want to be peering over your shoulder and you know, being a micromanager, but we do want to make sure that the efforts you're making are going towards the right things to help you end up at the right place at the end of the year. And so also with the administration, all of our assistants are already trained and licensed, and we have a marketing manager and a transaction coordinator. They can leverage, and they don't have to train them. They don't have to come up with the systems. They don't have to manage them, none of that. And then marketing, obviously credibility being a part of a bigger brand. So they can say, hey, our team last year closed 115 transactions, instead of, oh, I only did 2 myself. They can say, hey, my team did this. And also a set it and forget it with the marketing. Like I said, our marketer, you just drop your listing paperwork and she handles it from there, and so do our assistants. And then vendor relationships, obviously we vet to be among the best. I literally have told all my title people, which I primarily only use when, you know, he's trying to say, hey, do you have time to go to lunch? And I always tell him, I don't have time to go to lunch. I don't use you because of free lunch. To be honest, just do a rock star job like you're always doing, and I'm going to be loyal to you, and I'm always going to use you. So having, you know, a really great inspector that does look out for your client's best interest, but doesn't necessarily kill all your deals. Have great contractors that will wait to be paid for repairs until closing, because maybe some of your sellers don't have actual cash. That's something that a lot of new agents don't have. They don't know who's great for title, who's great for lending, who's great for home inspections, who's great as far as contractors, and will wait to get paid. And then the culture, right? That's a value add. Being a part of a work hard, play hard is our team culture. So we're like, hey, when we're here, we're doing, but we're still going to have fun while we do it. But we're also not going to be the water cooler that we're just going to talk each other's ear off for the next 30 minutes to an hour. You know, we're all here to work, and then we'll play after hours. Just to zoom in a little bit closer on Sisu, this is a great scoreboard. So this is just a snapshot. And what's cool is you can currently see year to date under contract 34, 32 close. It breaks it out, buyers and sellers. How much do we have pending? And I just did this right before we started. So 15, we have 10 buyers under contract, 5 sellers. This is great to look at your seasonality trends, and obviously our team's grown. So, and right, we're in April right now, so we're looking at how many under contracts and close. So then that way you start focusing on, do we have seasonality and how do we overcome that so we have more of this? And then this is for me personally. I don't keep track of all my conversations, so I probably should have snapshot somebody on my team. I already know what I need to do. But this is great as far as what's my conversion for how many times do I get a listing signed to when it goes under contract. How many under contract do I end up selling, so I can look at my conversion rate. And then we can look at how many do I currently have pending, how much income do I have coming in, how much have I already been paid, what's my GCI, so my average GCI. Some people just say, oh, it's 2.5 or it's 3%, but it's really good to know what is your actual GCI. And then our expectations is simple. We call it our MUA simple 7. So our commitments are shown and lived up through our actions. We proactively communicate and problem solve. We do our best. And sometimes your best is different on different days. And I don't expect people to be the best, but I expect them to do their best. And then we show up with positive energy and a high level of engagement. We trade expectations for appreciation and have an attitude of gratitude. We err on what's best for the team and for the client, and we own our role 100%. Next, how do you keep your clients or your team members engaged is we have role play Monday through Thursday. Again, just over the phone, 8:30 to 9, everybody's expected to be on that call. Then we do a team huddle by Zoom, so you can see this on here, where we all get on Zoom and we all see each other's faces, and for the next 10 minutes, somebody is sharing a quote. So there's always somebody assigned, and we switch who it is so everybody can partake and share their own quote. And then everybody just says what's their big rock for the day. So what's their big focus that they want to get done that day. And then productivity coaching is Tuesdays. For onboarders, it's at 1 o'clock. For people that have already graduated through My Agents University, it's at 2. So we do productivity coaching where we're making sure that they have all the tips and tricks to be as productive as possible. Thursdays at 11, we do team training. So Liz, my partner right now, is doing it, which I noticed we're taking a lot of time. So I apologize and thank you guys, but it's a lot to go over. And then Thursdays at noon, right after team training, we used to break up team training and team meeting, but we figured if we're all together, we might as well just do these back to back. So we do team meetings Thursdays at noon, and normally a vendor comes in to provide lunch, but it's not a vendor show. They're not doing like a big old commercial and spill. They just come in 5 minutes and then they're out, and then we get down to the nitty gritty as far as what our team meeting covers. We do quarterly volunteers. We'll do bingo at senior centers. I just love giving back. I think it's a good way to bond with your team. We've done slime making at children's centers, at the homeless shelter. And in fact, it was funny because not only children partook, but so did the adults. It was kind of fun. And then we do biannual team retreats. So we do one day in June. Hey, how are we doing so far in the year? And then we do 2 days in November, which is a recap of that full year to date. And then we're setting our intentions and focus for the next year. Up here, you can see to the top right, our calendar. So this is our role play calendar and our huddle. The big name at the bottom of every day is who's in charge of huddle. And then each day we have a different focus. So Mondays we do LP Mama, and we switch out who the agent is and who the buyer is. So then that way you're getting a difference. On Tuesdays, my husband's a communications coach. So he teaches them how to communicate to different styles of communication. So if you guys have ever heard, there's green, red, blue, and brown. Brown's more direct, they're more short. They just want pretty much the nuggets. A blue is a people person. They're gonna really be conscious of other people. Green are more detail oriented, like your engineers. They want all of the details, all the stats, where you got the information. And a red is the emotional. They're kind of like squirrel. And so how do you interact with those people? Because it's not your communication style, it's how do you become a chameleon so you can communicate with that. So you're building the rapport on how they communicate. RLG stands for referral lead generator. Those are SOI calls, and hot buttons are great, just little topics on what you can say to them. And on Thursdays, Liz and I are actually the agent, so they can hear us do it and learn from us. And then how else do you engage them? We actually do a big meeting called a life story that's about 2 hours that we ask them to go back all the way from when they were little. Tell me about your family. Tell me how many siblings you have, the interaction there. Tell me about elementary. Tell me about junior high, high school, college, marriage, divorces, whatever it is. And what we're doing is we're just trying to figure out who these people are and what's made them who they are today. You will get tears out of this. You'll have happy moments. It really is a great way to bond you, but also help you understand that person on a way deeper level. Some of these life stories I've taken 4 hours. I take notes and I'll actually screenshot it and give it to them. And people end up realizing a lot about themselves through this life story and who they are. And then we'll do a follow-up meeting called 4 quadrants, which is more goal related. Tell me in 1 year where you want to be. And so 4 quadrants means you do an X in the middle of the board. And I want to know what's your first priority as far as, you know, it's normally job. Tell me what you want to see, your progression as far as your job goes. Tell me your money and wealth, what your goals are there. Personal growth, what do you want to learn? What do you want to master? Any of that. Then miscellaneous is typically like, oh, travels and hobbies and just kind of play stuff. And so we tell them to set a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 year goal. And we'll go through that with them. And then we'll tell them at the bottom, Kate, what are all the things that are preventing you from achieving this? And what are all the things that you can do to set yourself up for success? And a lot of times, right, it's just, it comes down to schedule and focus. And then we do quarterly one-on-ones and then random lunches, pedicures and barbecues and stuff like that to keep them engaged and build that level of stuff. And then to finish, you grow through what you go through. So sometimes you're so caught up in the day-to-day that you forget kind of where you're going and where you're heading because you got so much on your plate and so many distractions and all that, building a team and, you know, feeling like you're failing forward. And, you know, some days it's flowing super well. And some days you feel like everything's falling apart. You question why you even started. You know, and some days you feel like you're all alone. You have this team, yet you feel like all the pressure's on you. But as soon as you get to where you're going, you end up realizing how beautiful a journey it was and that you really do need to enjoy the journey and all the learning lessons because it's helped make you who you are. And you end up realizing your journey's not done. There's always something else to strive for. So I will let you guys open it up to Q&A if you guys have any follow-up questions. I know somebody asked for a copy of the agent contract. I will give it to you. My only request for that would be do not give it out to anybody else. I paid thousands of dollars for an attorney to help me write it up. I'm happy to share with our women's council members, but I would hate for that to go out all over. It sounds like Renee has a small 3-person team for a while. She'll be adding a 4th. So thank you for this. That's awesome. Does Sandra, Penny, anybody else have any questions? I see Carla's on the phone.
No questions, but it was excellent. Excellent.
Sorry, that was a lot of information to try to jam into it.
It was wonderful. Well, I'm transitioning, so that was really good just to see the different possibilities that are out there. So
good. Sandra, do you have any questions or what was some of your takeaways? Oh, I think she's on mute.
Sorry.
You're okay.
I have a part-time assistant who handles that transaction kind of stuff. I'm not sure if I want to grow into those other things, but I thought there were a lot of great tools and information that you shared, and I appreciate it.
Perfect. You're welcome. Okay. Well, I will let you guys go. I got to jump off for my own team training. So I appreciate you. Thanks
you
to
so
Cindy
much.
and Women's Council for letting me share all of these. And Cindy, I'll email you all the information that I promised. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take
You're
care.
welcome. Bye, Penny.
Bye. Best of all to you guys. Bye, Cindy.